Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cases That Should Have Gone to the Supreme Court of Canada, but didn't. Today, we're talking about negligent investigation. Cases that should have gone to the Supreme Court of Canada, but didn't. John Connolly sued the Toronto police as a result of an investigation that the police conducted into his son's suicide. Although the police had labeled the death as suicide, Mr. Connolly and his family disagreed and thought that there was foul play at issue. Because they couldn't persuade anybody to share their opinion of what had happened, they decided to try to persuade the police through a lawsuit for negligent investigation, arguing that the police officers had been negligent in not investigating whether the suicide was in fact something more nefarious. The action against the Toronto police was dismissed on summary judgment on the basis of the fact that there is no standing to sue for negligent investigation if you are the survivor of an investigation involving a deceased person. Essentially, confirming that the only people who can bring actions for negligent investigation are not those who survive the consequences of the negligent investigation, but only those who are directly personally affected by it. This is a decision that is completely out of step with other legislation in this country, including the Victims of Crime Act, that indicates that a victim of a crime is not just a person who is directly affected by that crime by having been robbed or stabbed or anything like that, but it extends to the family members of victims of crime because of the ripple effect that those things can have. It also indicates that people are victims of crime if in a criminal act a person is killed. The fact that the Toronto police couldn't be sued for negligent investigation, where a family was very directly affected and caused suffering by the alleged negligent investigation in this case, makes no sense. And I think it was a misstep for the Supreme Court of Canada not to take on this case so that they could clarify that people who have been affected by a poor investigation done by police, whether or not that was the case here, should have the right to have recompense for their injuries and for their suffering. This case, unfortunately, makes things a lot more unfair for people who are desperate at the hands of police in how they conduct their investigations. You're watching Cases That Should Have Gone to the Supreme Court of Canada, but didn't. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Cases That Should Have Gone to the Supreme Court of Canada, but didn't. I'm Kyla Lee at Acumen Law Corporation. Thank you to Brazen Bull Creative for putting together these videos, and tune in next week for another exciting episode.